Hello, we are live. Welcome to the first video in January for the Dark Tower Readalong, where we're going to be talking about books 1 and 2 of Dark Tower. If anybody is there, say hi in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're on my channel, you know who I am already, but we'll go around and introduce ourselves.
Hello, I am Casey. I am one half of the channel Books Before Death. We do a lot of Cosmere stuff recently, but we also reads a lot of sci-fi fantasy, and I read a lot of just anything and everything. Speaking of Bree, she's in the comments right now. And then, yeah.
Yay! Hey guys, my name's Steph from channel Coffee Over Apples. I do focusing on horror and sci-fi right now, but also got a lot of anime stuff, art stuff, book hauls coming. Check it out. Oh wait, I can do this. There's Mazza. Yeah.
Well, first try.
My name's Mazza Booktuber, so my channel's called Mazza Booktuber. I do a lot of horror too. I used to do a lot of novels, like you can see back there. I'm a big Stephen King nerd, but currently I'm getting into manga, which is back here, and I'm gonna read like so much manga this year, and I feel like I'm gonna lose so many subscribers, but it's okay. I'm doing it because I enjoy it, but yeah, I'm also gonna have a lot of like content for like horror and Stephen King, and then I'm also gonna do a lot of fantasy too because I just want to expand my palette because I don't want to be like in a box kind of thing. I feel like last year I did that to myself where I was just reading Stephen King and I was like, people were like, give me more Stephen King content. I was like, I don't have any more.
I feel like with the reading manga, you'll lose a few people and then you'll get like a whole new fan base. So it's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for.
I was trying to do that before by like just focusing on like switching back and forth, and at the end of the day, I was like, I'm gonna do what makes me happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, man, it's okay. I even did a poll on my channel asking them like, what do you guys want to see, and they were all like, it was like 60% Stephen King. I was like, I don't know what to give you guys though.
Just start doing rant videos.
Oh god, I love rant videos. So who for in the comments as well, who was this a reread for and who was this a first time read for? Is everybody here a reread?
Yes.
For at least Gunslinger.
Gunslinger was a reread.
Okay. And how was the experience rereading it? Did it feel very different to the first time you read it? And how long has it been since you originally read it?
5 years for me.
Okay. It's about the same for me, I think.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's been several years, and I've read it twice before.
Actually, I saw your thing on Goodreads, Casey. It said you read it in 2017 and then you read it in 2019.
Really?
Just loved it. Oh, another reread.
That's so much more recent than I expected. My memories are gone.
I think I've read it every single year since I've been on BookTube, so it's been 2 years almost. So I've read it this is my like fourth time reading it, supposedly, because I was listening to the audiobook while I was doing stuff because I didn't have time to like read it. So this is like my fourth time. So, and then the last time I read it was last year, like 4 months ago.
Hope you feel better.
Thanks for coming anyway. Please get some rest.
Yeah, thanks for popping in. We got a newbie.
Yay!
Yeah, I've never read The Drawing of the Three before. I have started it before though, and I got like 100 pages in and then just gave up for some reason. So those, I know. Those were familiar to me, but the rest of it was not.
Do you
But
remember
even at the reread, don't you guys think that like it's like a super different story from like the Gunslinger? It's like Drawing of the Three.
So different.
What was your question?
Oh, thanks for coming, Bree. What was I gonna say? Oh, do you remember why you gave up?
I don't know. I think I was just like not in the headspace to read a Stephen King book at the time. Speaking of, I haven't read a Stephen King book in at least 2 years now, and so this was jarring. I had forgotten his writing style, and the switch from Brandon Sanderson to Stephen King was abrupt and sharp.
Yeah. It's like two completely different movie directors.
Yes. I personally felt comforted. I was like, this is my comfy place. I'm home.
This is like cozy writing that I don't have to have my whole brain switched on for.
I don't It's okay.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Do we want to talk about Gunslinger first and then move on to Drawing of the Three, or do we just want to lump it all together? What do you think?
Can we do Well, if we did one and the other, would it be non-spoilery, then spoiler, then non-spoilery, and spoiler?
I guess so. Yeah.
Or should we just do all non-spoiler for both?
Okay. Yeah. Let's do all
Okay, yeah.
non-spoilers for both. That sounds sensible.
The way that I always describe it to people is like the Gunslinger is like the introduction to the story, and then the drawing of the three is like presenting your character cast. Like this is your like basically. So what I heard about is that he was like I want to write a fantasy story, and we all know Stephen King's writing, so he's gonna add some dark aspects to it. And this was supposed to be his first and last book about it, but then people actually liked it, and they were like, oh, he was like, okay, then I gotta come up with. So then he came up with the drawing of the three. So for me, I feel like the Gunslinger is like the prologue, and then the drawing of the three is actually the first book in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Feel that.
He was very young when he wrote the Gunslinger as well. I think he was like 19 when he wrote Gunslinger.
Yeah.
Mhm.
19.
So it feels very jarring, the difference between the first book and the second book, but also
Yeah.
exactly what Mazda said, like both of them feel like we're still setting up, and book 3 is where we're actually in it.
There's still time. There's still time. Hop
There's
on this
still
train.
time.
Yes, there is.
100%.
It is
Everyone's
like-
invited.
Yes. Should we tell what we're reading next month so people know they have time to catch up?
Yep, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So we're gonna read the first 2 books in the Gwendy series.
Ooh, yours are different.
Yeah, I have the like
Ooh.
original.
Ah.
Ooh.
So with the Gwendy books, we're not sure entirely how it ties into Dark Tower, but the cover for the third Gwendy book literally has the Dark Tower on the cover. So we're like, we have to read. That's the one. That bad boy.
Yes.
And that comes out next month, huh?
The
It
third
does-
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we're reading it in like August or something like that.
Yeah, give
Yes.
people
the third
time to
one.
like get their hands on it and stuff.
So if you didn't read books 1 and 2 and you just wanted to read the main series with us, I think we're doing book 3 of the main series in March.
Yeah,
So you still
I
have
think
time
so.
to read these and catch up with us.
It's loads of time.
Yeah.
When I got Wendy's Magic Feather, I believe, it said that it was a signed edition, so I was like, oh, it's gonna be signed by Richard Chizmar and Stephen King, so I bought it, and it was only Richard Chizmar, and I was like, bro.
Boo.
I know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's a good signature, but I was like, I was hoping for a Stephen King signature too, but they don't specify. So.
I feel like with the super difference between 1 and 2, even going back and reading 2 in comparison to book 7, you can see how his writing style has like slowly gotten better across the whole series, because it's like 20 years the whole series is written over. I think 1982 2002 I think he finished it,
Mm,
but
And
that's
then
yeah,
crazy.
he grew up.
Yeah, he didn't even think I don't think he believed he was going to finish it himself after the accident. I feel like after the accident, which was in book Wizard and Glass, I believe he was like struggling to finish that one. He was like, I didn't even think I was going to finish the story. And people were writing him from like, I want to say like, what is that thing called where you're like in prison because
Death Row.
death row? Yeah, they would send him letters and be like, hey, tell me the ending because I'm in death row. Old ladies that were like 92 and like, I need to know the ending before I go. And he was just like, I don't have an ending for you. I'm sorry. I was like, that must have really been like really hard because a lot of people are like hardcore like Dark Tower junkies and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So for books 1 and 2, what did you all rate books 1 and 2? Like your star rating.
Okay, so I feel like book 1 for me is always going to sit at like a 4-star.
Mm.
And then book 2 for me is always going to be solid 5.
That's interesting. I think
Sure.
mine are like a 3 and a 3.5. Like I liked the second one more, but there were still parts of it where I was like, wasn't driving with it as much as I wanted to, I guess.
That's fine. At least it was like a slight rating increase, though.
Just a slight.
Half a point is half a point. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave originally my original rating for book 1 5 years ago was a 5-star. This time it's a 3-star.
Ooh,
But book 2 I liked more. I gave it 4.
okay.
Mine has always been 2 for Gunslinger. 'Cause I picked
2?
it up. Yeah, 2. And then when I first picked it up, I gave it a 1. The second reread, I gave it a 2-star. And this is my third time around, but I was still like, no, it's still a 2. And then the Drawing of the 3 was a 4-star for me because when I was reading the series, I don't want to change my rating because I was like, oh no, I gotta like it, not like it, but like keep consistent with my rating just because I was saving my 5-star for like the book that really like made me like be like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And I won't tell you guys which one it is because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but I saved it and I was like, I'm so glad I did.
Yeah,
Even though
that's fair.
Jeff Lane is an author that I did the read along with last year, and he was like, "Oh, you got stars for days. You can give it like 6 stars. You don't have to save your stars." But he was like joking with me, and I was like, "No, it's okay. I'll save my stars."
That was a huge jump.
It's a long time. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 9 years.
What happened?
Okay, so was the last book really written in
2000. Oh, I don't know. It was released in 2002.
Onward Dark Hour book?
So yeah, I feel like with everybody giving book 1 such a lower rating, book 1 is definitely the thing that stops people getting into this series.
Oh,
100%.
BTW. But yes.
I think
Oh,
it's
4.
like
Okay.
I think it's a very interesting book, and I really liked it, even though like you don't get any explanation for anything. Like
Yeah.
that's my kind
Yeah.
of thing. I'm like, yeah, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know. Just confuse me. It was just great. Like I love being confused. I mean, you guys know I like the Cosmere, and for those books, you're confused for a lot of it. So
I'm still confused from the Cosmere. I think one of the things though that I think book 1 did better than book 2 is I felt like it was way more like atmospheric.
mm,
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think two had more in terms of like story and like better character building, but 1 he managed to make it feel like a proper Western at times.
that's
Get
not
out of
valid.
here!
You leave.
I believe that book 1 is definitely like he was basically finding his writing style, and then I feel like with Drawing to the 3, he definitely found it because he's very like a character based author, I would say, where
Yeah,
like the
definitely.
characters drive the story for him. And I feel like just having one character in the Gunslinger, and we add another character, but it's like we're like in the same POV the whole time, and it's like
One of the things I thought was interesting about this that Joe actually brought up earlier was that he switches between POVs really well
Mm-hmm.
in the second one in Drawing of the 3.
The POV switch during the Lady of Shadows is so her voice is so distinct. I could
Yeah.
like hear a southern accent in my head when I was reading it. It's so distinct. It's so good. Like
you
I
should
really
listen
like
to the
all that.
audiobook. I think the narrator for the audiobook actually had an accident and he couldn't finish the whole series. I think he stops at their Wizard and Glass. But his narrating for the Dark Tower is like it's like one of the best narrator voices I've heard in a long, long time.
It's
And
awesome.
he does the voices even for like for Susanna, she does it really, really, really good.
Yeah, I ended up listening to the second half of Drawing with Your on audio, and I was cracking. The accents were done so well. I was like, "Yep, that sounds like an Italian mafia boss from New York. That's what it is." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, especially just to give characters distinct voices.
Yeah, that's what I was most impressed by, like the distinct voice
Yeah.
of her narration. Like her internal thoughts was interesting to me. I will say the writing of that he does with accents will always bother me. I like the like writing out of like accented words always throws
Oh,
me
where he
off.
does it like super phonetically.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
super
like
phonetically. It's a good way
it's
to
like
finish book.
audiobooks are for cramming. That's all they're for.
Yeah.
Yes. But it was so helpful with the accent though. And R.I.P. Salem Slot.
No. Was that your dog?
Yes, and I gave her so many toys to distract her, and she still found my books. It's fine.
Puppies.
Evil.
He's a book eater, and we're working on it.
Anything else we want to say? Anything else we want to say that's non-spoilers before we start talking like heavy spoilers?
Yes, definitely. This is a product of its time. So
Oh yeah.
anyone who is new to this series, be conscious of that. There's a lot of things that would not get this book published now.
And while that doesn't excuse it,
Mm-hmm.
at least it'll help you understand why some of the language choices were made.
Right. I kind of saw it in a way of book 2 felt like a historical fiction in some ways.
Well, it is kind of.
Yeah, it really is. And also that there are discussions between the characters about certain vernacular that is okay in one era and not okay in another era. So the
Yeah.
characters are very conscious of that what they're saying is problematic, at least if they don't understand it to them that it's problematic to someone else from a different time period. So be prepared.
As long as the fact that there is problematic language and it's presented as problematic language, I think it's more excusable.
Right. It's not
But-
sugar-coated. It's like we know
Yeah.
we're jerks. They know that they are, and they talk about it. And yeah,
I don't
it's
think anything Stephen King done is ever sugar coated.
no, it's not. So, like, if you've not read Stephen King before, be prepared. Nothing is sugar-coated.
I just saw that Carrie got into the ban list. I was like, has she been in the ban list? Has that book been there, or was it recent? Because I just seen it recently, and I was like, what? Carrie's in here, but I can see definitely why. But I was like caught off guard. I was like, oh, wow.
That makes total sense to me.
Yeah,
That is a hot take, by the way.
Yeah, I thought
Hmm.
it's true.
What did you say? Carrie got into the what? Sorry.
I don't
The
remember.
the
band
ban list of
like the banned books.
Yeah.
Oh
Did-
right, no way.
Did it say why? I haven't read that book in over 10 years, so I really couldn't.
It
No,
would
it
be
just had like a list. It had like the Catcher
Oh.
in the Rye, and then a bunch of other books were like, or Anne Spring Diary too. I think I don't know if that
oh
one's
yeah,
been in
they
there.
always
but
ban that. They
it's
ban
like-
that everywhere in the US.
I was like, man.
I think the
there's-
banned list is like stuff that's been banned at some point.
Yeah, it only needs to have been banned in one place
Yeah.
to get on the list.
Oh, I
But for
see.
Carrie, I can definitely see it. Like the the religious stuff, even the period stuff, I'm sure they would ban it for that.
Oh yeah, definitely they would.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's the American
I'm
one.
assuming
There's
it's
very little banned over here. There's a very
Is
little
there
banned in the UK. Yeah. It
What
has
is
to
it?
be like really evil to get banned here.
Dr.
Zombie-
Seuss got banned over here, so it's like, bro.
I think
Yeah.
the only one I know off the top of my head that is like a concretely banned book over here is the Anarchist's Cookbook, which literally tells you how to make fucking pipe bombs. So like,
I ironically, I bet that's not banned over here.
No problem.
well,
Jeez.
No, that's legal.
well, leather-bound books are made of skin.
That's true. What kind of skin is the question?
Yeah.
Okay, do we
Any
want
other
to-
non-spoiler stuff? I think we can do spoilers now. Oh, but I should say we're gonna really do our absolute best, considering we're all rereads, to not spoil anything past the end of
Yep.
book 2,
Mm-hmm.
I can't do
because
that.
it would be really easy to spoil stuff past the end of this book. So we have to really try.
Yes.
Okay. The one thing I feel like I can say though is that this book means more on a reread.
Mm-hmm.
Considering, like, basically with the ending of the series, this book I think means more on a reread.
It does. I agree. My heart hurts more.
Yeah,
You
I'm a
guys,
broken
I
man.
should do this, Casey, for a year. I can't. I'm only on day 1, and I'm just.
It's hard. It's very hard, and I had Bree to help me to hold me back.
do you guys have Little Sisters of Illyria in the list of books we're reading?
It's not, but I've had it mentioned to me a couple of times, so we're probably going to figure out a way to squeeze it in.
Yeah, because I feel like but the thing is, I feel like we should have read it before even starting the Gunslinger, because it's like a little it's like just like a little knickknack, so we don't have to read it, but it's really, really good. Like, that's the reason why I picked up the Dark Tower, like, because I was gonna put it off until I finished all his works, but then I read the Little Sisters of Illyria, which is in Everything's Eventual, and I was like, this is so freaking good. Like, what the heck am I missing out on? And then I jumped into the Gunslinger, and I was like, what the heck happened? It's like way, like, the writing style that you guys were mentioning was way different, so I was like, oh man. Like, but I kept reading, and then I was like, oh, there we go. There's Little Sisters of Illyria writing.
Okay.
So
Well,
I
I
have
think
a
we'll try.
question for anyone who rated the Gunslinger low on the first read. What was the push to get you into book 2?
That's a good question.
I mean,
I think-
I rated it high on my first read. So
Okay.
Yeah, for me, I think it was just like I really like where he was going with it. So I was like, I like the whole plot and like the whole because it's supposed to be like this Western theme. Like at first, I don't think we should. I won't mention what happens next, but like the whole thing just felt really like I really like the plot setting. Like it was like everything was dead on him except him, and like the whole Western thing just got my attention. So I was like, let's move on to the next book, and maybe it picked up, and it definitely picked up a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Okay, exciting. I don't even know. Is there anything else non-spoilery that we could say?
I think we can say that if people didn't know before, the Dark Tower like unites every other piece of King's work, with a few exceptions that aren't tied into anything. But like in his other work, you notice a lot of Dark Tower references, and in the Dark Tower books, especially in the revised ones, you see a lot more in the way of like connectivity to other stuff. So I wonder if anybody spotted anything in books 1 or 2.
I mean, there's an obvious one in book 2.
Go, we're in spoilers now. You can just tell us.
Okay. There's the mention of Flag, and I was like, I see you.
There is the mention of Flag, who is recurring again and again and again.
What's you guys' take on Flag? Because I love the guy, but a lot of people hate him. Like I know why you would hate them, but what do you guys think about him? He's like my favorite antagonist of all time, though.
He's so fun.
He's like a cockroach. I mean, I like him. He's a good villain, but he's also like a cockroach.
Oh yeah.
Like I like what you're doing, but I'm gonna squash it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the reason why I bring it up is because he's always used them. Like everywhere, he's like the biggest antagonist that I can think of in his like whole, books, and we don't have an origin story. At least not one where like the book is just basically like about Flag. I feel like that would do so good, but maybe just King doesn't know how to make it up because that would be an amazing story. Just because I believe people aren't bad just to be bad. Like they're like either they're not born being bad. Like something needs to happen to them to turn them into being bad. Unless you're just really messed up as soon as you come out. But I doubt it. I really doubt it.
But does that logic apply to him? Because can we say like does he come from the same place as some of the evil beings? Not going to name any specific books because then that would be spoilery. Or from some other King books that are more like cosmic.
I get you.
And also, I don't think he'll ever do an origin story for him.
No, he won't.
He won't. It's too much.
No.
Like it's too much of a pressure to write that story. He'll never do it.
I feel like he's so above having to explain himself to anybody.
Exactly.
But you know what I was thinking? I wonder if Fly's gonna make another appearance in Fairy Tale, because the whole plot that I read about it needs an antagonist, and I wonder who the antagonist is gonna be. So maybe we'll get another glimpse of why Flag is the way he is in that one, but maybe not.
It's a very brief mention in the Drawing of the Three, I will say.
It's very brief.
Just his name.
It's a name drop. Yeah, it's a name drop. But that's enough to get people psyched.
Like, oh shit, I know that name.
I feel like when we get to like the Wastelands and then Wizard and Glass, we're gonna see a bunch of more like connections with other books, and we're gonna be like, oh my goodness, that's why that happened, or that's why they're in that one place that I went before.
There's a lot of connections in Wasteland, but in I think Wolves of the Kala, I think, is where you start to be like, oh my god, everything is coming.
Yeah. I think Wolves of the Kala and, if I'm not mistaken, Song of Susanna.
Yeah, there's a lot in Song of Susanna as well. Definitely. But we can note these as we go and then like pull them up on the live shows.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I know we didn't include The Stand in this like organization of what we're reading, but is anyone planning on reading it additionally?
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I'd like to do a reread at some point, but it probably won't be this year.
Yeah.
Because it's like this big.
It's sitting over there and staring at me.
Yeah.
I have like 4 or 5 editions of that book because like my favorite book of all time, but I've only read it once. My wife's like, why do you want so many editions if you're not going to read them? I was like, I promise I'll read one of them.
That's me with it. I have like 15 editions.
I just have my same old edition from when I first read it when I was
same for me.
13 or something.
Barnes and Noble has a really nice edition. It's right there, the orange one, for $25.
Oh,
It's really, really nice, like super duper nice. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
No, but I know that the edition type you're talking about, and they are.
Yeah,
Really
and
cool.
when I saw it, I was like, oh, I need to get this, and it was just $25 for like an edition like with that quality and like everything. I was like, oh, this is great. But going back to the Gunslinger, what did you guys think when you guys saw like the first scene? I feel like the first epic scene in the Gunslinger is when he just goes to the town and just wipes everybody out, and it's like, bro, what the heck just happened? Like, this guy's a badass.
I think that was very, very different in the revised edition.
Really?
Really different. Because like in the revised edition, it feels like, because Joe read the revised edition, and like there's this element almost of he really doesn't want to do it, and there's like he's like filled with regret as he's doing it. But in the original, there's just like flip a switch, he's a machine, bam, 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 they're all dead. And he's like super cold. There's like zero emotion there at all. And I feel like that's like, that paints this really like, he's like a frightening guy in book one in the unrevised, but I don't know if it's, did you find him to be, in the original, in book one, sorry, I wonder if we didn't have the flashbacks to his childhood, would he be a likable person at all?
Maybe not, but I kind of like that they made him a little bit more open in the revised version, because then it aligns more with how much of the dad we got in book two, or like him starting to grow like a connection to other people despite the things that he's done.
Book two, Roland has big dad energy.
I agree with Steph, because I feel like the revise happened just because you couldn't go from being like this, like, you know, cyborg, not cyborg, but like this machine guy that like has no emotion, to like throughout the series seeing him change a little bit throughout like his emotions and like the way he carries himself. And then, well, this is talking about book two already, but do you guys notice how like he goes from being like this person like has like the biggest ego, like you can't touch me, to like losing his hand and just being like kind of like fragile? Because I feel like losing a part of your body just is kind of like, I don't know, really traumatic. But he was still really like hard-headed, and he still had that ego, and I was just like, but then throughout the series you're gonna see that he escalate a little bit, so it's like
I think the thing that breaks his ego down a little bit is having to rely on someone else.
Yeah.
Like having to even admit that he's a little bit vulnerable.
I also don't know at this point that I would call him a likable character, at least to me. Like, I like him as a character, but he's not a likable character to me.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I want to just punch him in the face, most of the time, actually.
100%. Like, he makes some terrible choices.
He has like the robotic thing of like, I need to get to the tower, and like, I think she touches more on book two, but I was like thinking to myself, like, man, this guy's really like, I wonder what extent he's going to go to get to that tower. When I read it the first time, I was like, this guy he's drawing 3 characters, but I wonder, you know, like, I don't know.
In book one, it didn't really touch on the tower being an end goal for him much at all. Like in book one, it was like, I just have to capture that man. Like, I'm going to hunt him down and stop him and palaver. But like in book two, it seems like his focus has completely shifted.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of book one, it shifts to the tower more than, because he's gotten to the Man in Black.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as prevalent through like the rest of the book that's what he's really focused on. And it's an interesting shift.
I was a little stuck on how he talked about his obsession with finding the Man in Black, and how he hadn't seen him, or he hadn't actually seen him. He's just been following his trail for so long.
Yeah.
And I don't know that the justification that motivated him to want to start following him was enough for me to be like, oh, at a certain point, I don't know, I just want to live my life. But he's also a very impressive guy, and I guess we'll talk more about that later.
I think he's just like, too stubborn and egotistical to stop once he started something. Like, he's dedicated to this, and he's doing it now.
He has slow brain.
He has slow brain, which I did like that
plodding brain.
Yes.
He's like a Komodo dragon. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna run after you. I'm gonna walk, but I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
that's such a
unlike a
good
turtle.
point.
Yes,
I would not trust him with anything.
shouldn't.
With a plant. With
Don't.
nothing.
No.
Did this book hit anybody as super religious? I
The
feel like there's a lot of religious stuff in it.
the Gunslinger, yeah, which was so different the second time around. I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
What happened?
Do you guys think that Stephen King was trying to play at, you know how like a lot of authors create their own religion and within their world? Do you think he was trying to go at that and it just didn't work out, or do you think he wanted to do it like that?
I don't
I don't know.
know.
It
I feel like okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My brain stopped working.
I feel like because there were a lot of references to the world before it moved on, right? And there were a
Yeah.
lot of like certain ways that things were described, aside from having religion, but certain cultural values or the way that certain people were described, such as the only people who we got certain descriptions of were people who were not white, or there were just like certain values that remained with the moving on of the world. So I don't know. I feel like it was intentional, but intentional in the sense of showing us like a dystopian setting in which kind of like I hate to say like the worst parts of society, but I don't know how else to describe it. Just like that those are the things that always remain. It might be just intrinsic to humanity. I don't know.
Like he wasn't trying to create his own religion. He was showing a religion that had broken down over time and like just bits of it were left.
Right. And so people just keeping the parts that they wanted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
can I feel like it's a lot about like when society regresses, like attitude also regresses
Mm-hmm.
along with it. Oh, wait till like Wizard and Glass. You're gonna find out so much more about like gunslinger religion. It's mad.
Yeah. Yes.
Weapons
Because I
are
feel
my
like that
religion.
phrase stays with me. I feel like I'm gonna mess it up now that I want to say it. Like, remember if you don't like, I knew I was gonna forget it. Now that I want to say it, where he's like, you've forgotten the face of your father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like that's has tying in with is it Joe? In the
Hmm?
Oh,
comics?
is there something like that in Star Wars, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'm not as Star Wars savvy as everyone else, so please fill me in if there is.
Me neither, Steph.
What about you, Max?
I feel like the forgotten the face of your father thing is like it's almost like a medieval attitude to have, but that fits really well with Roland's world being such a like an analog of a medieval world.
Mm.
Because I think Gilead, it's not talked about much in this one, but Gilead is very like knights in shining armor. You can even kind of smell that on the flashback you get in book one. But I think that kind of fits with that.
Oh, because I feel like have you guys read or heard anything from the Wheel of Time?
No.
Not read it,
It's
no.
the same premises where like people believe it's like back in the day, but they don't understand like the world just went to like shit basically, and it's all bad. So they had to regress, and that's why it feels like it's like medieval times or stuff like that. But it's like no, it's like in the future, but people just had to regress because of all the bad stuff that happened.
People got mad. They're angry now, so they're horrible.
Happens.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you think it's reflective of King's like belief? That's interesting.
Quite I agree with that most likely. Mm.
Yeah, we love Eddie. We love Eddie in this house.
I have a soft spot for everybody, but that's
Yeah. I don't think like there are any unlikable main characters in this. Like by the end of the series, I genuinely love everybody.
I think one of my notes about Eddie, I don't remember what part it was at, but I just wrote, Eddie is an idiot. I love him, but he's a certified idiot.
Yeah, he's like totally stupid. I feel like it's like he switches to being an okay guy really quick though.
Yeah.
But then, like, before he goes through the door, where he's like talked about the fact that he has killed people or like shot people before, and like he's a drug smuggler, and then man, it's so like disparate with who he is. But then the period where he's like pretending to be a good guy, and then like smacks Roland around the head to try and get through the door on his own. Man, yeah, he's such a. I really like how he's written as a character.
I'm jumping the gun here, but like I feel like my favorite part in the Gunslinger, in the drawing of the three, was when we're on the plane and he has to figure out how to get rid of the drugs, and it's just like that. I couldn't stop reading that part just because it was so like the anxiety that I felt, because I just know like you're stuck in the air. What are you gonna do? How's he gonna get rid of them?
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know. I feel like the whole Steen does a good job of like writing the whole action scene, even though it's not even an action scene. It's just someone stuck in an airplane with a bunch of drugs.
Oh man. Yeah.
Well, that's how I'm gonna picture him now.
Yeah.
Likes Roland.
Yes. Okay.
It's a ghost.
I mean, I kind of cast Eddie in my head as Jesse from Breaking Bad.
Oh, for me it's James McAvoy.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that too. But I feel like Eddie is just one of those people who he just grew up in the wrong crowd in the wrong time.
Yeah.
And
Like he's not at heart a bad guy. He just had to be bad to stay alive, and it just stuck.
Being surrounded, especially with following his older brother and like what his older brother was into, and just trying to make it.
Yeah, I feel like he's funny as well, and it's really hard to write funny characters. Like especially funny without using sarcasm, I think is a real skill. Like when they like bust open the door and he's just pretending that he was taking a shit the whole time.
He screams New Jersey, and I feel so seen, but not in a good way. They were all talking about like places that I go to every day, and I'm just like, oh, this is so cringy.
Yeah.
Okay. Good guy.
His album is called Good Guy Gone Bad Gone Good.
Yes.
He's a sweetheart, really.
Do your guys' editions, do they have the pictures inside of them too?
Yeah, I've got illustrations in mine.
Not in mine, no.
No.
Fortunately.
Because I feel like the illustrations for me, like especially in drawing the three, really helped me like picture everybody, like especially Eddie and everybody. And then after that, like that's how I see him in my head.
The one for Odessa is like horrific. Like it's like such a jarring picture. Like it's really scary.
Oh, I haven't
Can
seen
you
it.
show it?
We'll find it.
Whoa,
Oh.
that is totally different.
She's
That is
scary.
definitely terrifying.
Yeah.
Because there's an illustration in here too when they go into the door to get Eddie and they have like the whole shootout and they're all naked. And the picture in here is like, I was like, that's too much, but okay, thank you for that.
I love that scene so much. That brings me so much joy.
It's ridiculous.
Yes. Can I just say that, despite what I feel about everything, I live for Roland coming to Earth and be like, give me Popkins. Like, trying to navigate New York City is giving me so much love.
And Tutor Fish as well.
I loved
Tutor
watching
Fish.
him experience soda for the first time, and then
Oh
eyeing
my
the
God,
cocaine
yeah.
and being like, "Is that sugar?" No, don't do it.
Yes. He's like, why would they want this when you can have sugar?
I'm glad that Stephen King recognizes that Pepsi is a superior drink to Coke.
It's a lie, but
Pepsi Club over here.
So I don't count. I said I'm Team Dr. Pepper, so I don't count.
Oh, I'm with Casey. I like Coke better. Not like the Coke that he was taking in the plane, but like Coca-Cola.
Please don't demonetize Max's channel.
Yeah, all of us like, I like fizzy drinks, and Maz are like, I really like drugs.
Oh man,
What?
Pepsi tastes like soap.
What? I'm
No
not,
way.
I,
Illegal. You're banned from the chat.
you can come to my channel. It's fine.
Is it
Yeah,
true,
I think it's the older ones that have the illustration.
Max? Is it true that you guys say can instead of like pop or soda?
Oh,
Fizzy drink.
it's fizzy drinks.
Because I heard a lot of people like they're always like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get a can," and I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Oh yeah, it's a can of Coke. Can of
Oh,
Pepsi.
okay.
I mean, I also say that. Like, I'll go get a can of soda.
Do you call it a can?
What else is it?
Soda.
Like, if you're getting a can of soda, like, what else would you call it?
Just the soda. You come back with it like in your hands. Like,
Right here. That's how I drink all my soda. Can of pop. That's more hidden.
They say pop, but yeah, it's can, so can we call it tin?
Ooh.
Mm.
I've okay.
The can.
Oh, there you go.
I just
So far, do you guys have a favorite character? Like one that you would like, if you guys had to like eliminate somebody, like if it was like an island contest where you had to eliminate somebody, who would win and like, or who would you eliminate?
I will say my favorite character's not here yet.
Oh.
But
I don't know why I feel like I know who it is, and I have to agree.
but these three?
Yeah.
I think out of these two, it's got to be Eddie, just because he's like mad.
Yeah.
I just want to pat him on the head and tell him everything's gonna be fine.
Stop being angry, Eddie.
I think I'm a little bit biased, and I'm gonna have to pick Roland just because, maybe because I know like what goes on later on. But for me, it's Roland. I don't know. Like, then if I had to take somebody out, I shouldn't have put that in there. I don't even know what it is.
You ask yourself this question.
You
know,
just
like,
played
you know,
yourself,
like-
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
How about you, Casey?
My favorite so far is probably Susanna.
Mm.
She's great.
Yeah, she is.
Great.
She's like funny as well, but in like a completely different way to Eddie.
Yeah.
I also want to just hug her.
It's like it's okay.
Okay. Yes.
We're trying
I
to think
thought
about
it was
that
like-
thing.
When I think I did my first review on Drawing of the Three, like a long time ago, and then I remember I was telling my wife, I was like, I had to add this part to the review because it was so funny where she like when she was calling Eddie and Roland like these white like what did she say, like,
Oh my god.
and she was like, motherfucking white boys just want to rape me or something, and I was like, oh man, no.
Oh, she called them honk marfas.
Yes. Roland was like, what species is this? Honk mom.
What is a honk marfa?
No.
I love that at one point he looks to Eddie and he's like, I understand like 1 out of 10 of the words that come out of her.
Is this a kind of lobster? I don't know.
But yeah, I agree with just watching Roland, and then it's so funny how like King chose New York out of all places. Like I feel like if you would have put him in maybe like I live in Washington, you drop him in Washington, he'd be a little bit more chill. But dropping him in the middle of New York, it's like, bro, what are you doing?
No, it's the perfect place to drop him. He
Yeah.
belongs in New York City.
I think to a lot of like the international crowd, New York really like the media presents New York as like the center of America.
I mean, you can drop someone in their underwear in New York and no one would look twice. It's
No one,
just,
yeah,
like,
that's what I
literally.
was thinking. Like,
He like
You-
camouflages with everybody else.
Yeah. Actually, I'm pretty sure in February next month we have I think it's either in February or March. We have a no pants day, so
Mhm.
everyone just walks around New York with no pants. And it's
Awesome.
cold, so we've all got
very
like
cold.
jean jackets for no reason.
It's the best public holiday.
Yeah, I'll send pictures.
oh, good.
I'm trying to think what else about. I like the fact that there are monsters in it. Like,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
like when King he doesn't put monsters in it a lot, but like when he does put monsters in it,
Always ready.
it's like, oh, I love it. Lobstrosities.
Yes.
I was like, oh, a cousin. Not a crab, but a lobster. My cousin.
But I think
The
all of
first
the
time I-
books in this series have some kind of
Monster.
monster in.
The first time around though, when I was reading the John 3, I was like, did my guy just lose his hand? Like I was like, he's a gunslinger. Like, what is King gonna do without a gunslinger, without a hand? So I was just kind of like, maybe that's why he's drawing the 3. But like, I feel like the title is like
two
on
fingers.
point. Like the drawing of the 3.
The fact that he lost 3 fingers on his right hand and was like, well, at least I'm a lefty. I died. Because that's like his sanity. Of all of the things in this world that time doesn't make sense and location doesn't make sense, there's one thing he can rely on. Roller. I was like, oh no.
I like that he's been like severely handicapped though.
Yeah.
I feel like when you have like a really OP protagonist, it gets boring really quick.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
So you wouldn't like One Punch Man?
Oh, One Punch Man is amazing. He's bad. It's like the complete opposite.
One Punch Man is emotionally handicapped.
Oh, freaking mess. I love
Bottomless.
it. Oh.
What's the bottomless?
So I must say, I read his friend's name from the past as Cuthbert,
Yeah.
but the audio book says Cuthbert, and I was like, "What?
Cuthbert?
Cuthbert?
There is no way. Are you lying?
No, I swear it says Cuthbert."
No, that's illegal.
That's illegal.
We had the same discussion last time that I read it last year because people were like pronouncing it like how Steph was saying, and I think I was like only odd one out because of my what's it called?
Accent.
My accent. Yeah, that I would call him Cooper or whatever, and then people were like, no, that's not right. And then the audiobook says it the way I say it, and I was like, oh, okay, there we go. You don't like that? You don't like it like that, Mac?
No, I feel like the name when I've heard the name in other stuff, because it's like a legit name. When I've heard the name in other stuff, it's always been Cuthbert.
There's been characters in TV shows I've watched, I'm pretty sure, that have been named Cuthbert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait, how did I pronounce it when I was reading it? Now I don't know. No idea.
just
Next
call
time
him
she reads
Bert.
that part, she's gonna be like, I need to make my choice now. What am I gonna call him?
Yeah.
A Britishism? Oh,
I don't know. I think it's a British name.
I think it is.
Probably.
I don't know.
It sounds very like private school, posh private
Yeah.
school name.
We didn't even mention Jake.
Oh, no, we
How
didn't.
did you think about like book 1, Jake? Do you think his initials being JC are deliberately JC?
Yes, definitely, 100%.
Mm.
Because there's the mention later about how he's his Isaac. And
Yeah.
like that was my thought throughout the whole thing, which someone else just mentioned in the Discord today, actually, which I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But
He
yeah,
died.
it was like,
He died nasty. They're just like, yeah, my guts were just like, and I guess the description of how he died the first time, I was like, oh man, that sucks.
Didn't he just fall in a
100%.
hole the first time?
No, he got
No,
run
he
over
hit
by
a
a car.
Yeah.
Oh.
He like got his lower half of his body was like splattered or
squished.
something.
When I first read it, I thought he was gonna like make mention of like from a Buick 8 because that's what popped into my head, but no, it's not. But yeah, when he first dies, that's where I got kind of like confused because Jake died to go where Roland is. So that for a minute I was like, then this is the afterlife, and I feel like that's when the whole timeline of how King wants to play with our minds of like, there's so many different timelines, there's so many strings that you guys can go to. Starts to like slowly like I start to get. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not just one timeline. There's different ones. Even though he died in a different timeline, he's with Roland, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I see what you're gonna do now.
Is that still the same Jake? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I also
I
just
feel like
think of
with-
it. Go ahead.
No, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say I didn't think of it as the afterlife when he first appeared. I thought of it as a way stop because he's literally at a way station, and I was like, oh, it's just like a stop on the way to the afterlife. Like that's why he's here. So that's how I thought of it. I didn't think of it as like afterlife thing. But I am interested in all of the timelines and how it's gonna work.
With you, Mazza, talking about From a Buick 8, that's my all-time favorite King book.
Is it really?
And it's like that is the one that I would imagine tied in the closest because it has like such a similar vibe to a lot of King stuff. But especially in number 1, where he mentions like the purple grass.
Yes.
I'm almost certain that is a From a Buick 8 reference.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Because they see like the world with purple grass through the boot of the car in From a Buick 8.
Well, didn't he write this first, or did he write the other one first?
I don't. I know. I think he wrote the first Dark Tower before From a Buick 8.
So then was he just like, oh yeah, I talked about purple grass that one time. I should tie it in somewhere else. I think
Maybe. I do wonder like how much of this he had planned and how much was just bullshit. Like he made up as he went along.
He ran out of ideas and he was like, I used that one thing at one time. Let me bring it back.
Is the purple grass in the revised edition and the like original edition, or is it just in the revised edition?
No, it's in the original as well.
It's
I had
in the
purple
original
grass
as
too.
well? Okay.
Yeah, like Jake seemed to know like what was going on in book 1. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to talk too much about Jake. But I felt like he was at first. I think he was gonna be one of those characters that King just uses to like get to us. Like, oh, I kill every one of your characters. Sorry, I don't care. But then yeah. Like,
how do we feel about right after the Jake death? How did we feel about the whole conversation between Roland and the Man in Black and that whole expose he was
I
giving?
tell you, in that conversation, just in that scene, I could see why they cast Matthew McConaughey.
That makes sense.
But like in other places in the series, like I wouldn't get it at all. But just for that one scene, the way he talks, I'm like, yeah, I understand that choice.
Yeah.
The tarot cards were what made the scene like really vivid for me. Like I don't know, just him like using the tarot cards, and then I don't know. At first I didn't even know what that was. I had to look it up, and then I started doing some research, and then some heavy dark stuff started coming out. I was like, oh man, what am I reading? So I was just like, okay, let's go back to the book.
I don't think the deck that he uses is a traditional 72 card deck, though. I think he uses because the major arcana that he turns over are not ones I recognize.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think it's a normal deck.
Wait,
don't call me out like
what's your McConaughey beef?
I think he's really creepy. He just gives me really creepy vibes.
He is really creepy,
like
but
him.
that's why he's a good choice for Man in Black, because he's horrible.
I mean, that's true, but I still have to watch him in the movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Eventually.
Okay, on the movie, for who has watched it?
I haven't watched it.
Oh, have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it.
Okay, do you think if they watch it now that it will be spoilery?
Yeah.
Or is it so random the way it's done that it's spoilery but not spoiler at all because you're going to be lost?
Even from the trailer, there's stuff that's spoilers.
There's stuff from it to wait. Okay.
There's a lot of references, but when I tell you nothing is explained.
I mean, I like that. That's my favorite.
I feel like you'll get spoilers, but you won't even know they're spoilers because they're not even like coherent to like the literature in the book. Like you'll just be like, wait, that was a spoiler? What the heck? No, that was no. Yeah, but I can see where you're coming from, Max. Like, yeah, like if you're like, since you read the whole series, you'll be like, oh yeah, that's kind of like a spoiler. But like if not, then. But yeah, I would probably wait to watch the movie just so you can like get a laugh out of it, kind of.
Yeah.
Sometime we will. I have plans. On that scene at the end, though, there was one thing that I'm pretty sure I am stuck on, and I don't need to be stuck on as much, but I noticed one thing, because he says a lot of stuff, and I feel like most of it is like, there's meaning buried in what he's saying, but a lot of it, he's just talking. But there was one part where he said something about Hold on, let me find it in my notes. He said like something had happened to time, like time was softening, and then he says to Roland about something else, like you'll do well to remember that, but you never do. And it gave me the thought of how like they've done this before and they will do this again, and it is like everything is a circle and it'll happen over and over again. And it was just very interesting to me. It gave me major I don't know if anyone's ever played the video game BioShock Infinite, but that's what I was thinking about. Like that end with the lighthouse, and that's what I was thinking of the whole time.
Totally valid, because wasn't it something like 10 years, or he said, where he woke up on the beach?
He woke up and he's like 10 years older.
Yeah.
That was just like one additional fuck you from like
yeah, there's no point to it.
He's like, well, you're doing pretty good on your quest. See how you handle bad knees.
And then going back to Eddie, did you guys kind of notice like that King? Wait, hold on, let me think about it. This was written in like
1982, I think this one was, or like 78.
78, I think.
Yeah.
So the Adriano 3 was like in 87, correct?
Yep.
Yeah,
it was 78 and 87. That's what Joe posted in the thing.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about like the monkey that Eddie was carrying, which was like his addiction to drugs. I wonder if at that time King was already carrying the monkey or he was getting into the monkey. So it was kind of like it hit me hard just because I could imagine someone that has like, you know, someone that's addicted to drugs is writing about someone who's been addicted to drugs. How much of his own personal like, you know, experiences was put into Eddie.
Yeah.
And I felt like the whole time when Eddie's trying to like, you know, be doing the cold turkey of not using it, do you guys think he could have been more vivid about it, or do you think it was vivid enough that you could see Eddie struggling, not having like, you know, his fix or whatever?
I think it was like quite obvious that he was going through like mad withdrawal.
Yeah, me too. And on the King part of it, I think it's documented that he got into drugs very young. So I think that he would have been definitely like dealing with that. And putting it into that character.
I love that line from the first book though, where he's like, he's possessed by a demon, and the demon's name is heroin.
Yeah,
that's such a good line. I love that.
It's such a good line.
Also, I feel like I was really worried going back into this about like, okay, my 2022 eyeballs.
Oh my god, the 2022 eyeballs.
Okay. But there were some.
They already ruined Dune.
They ruined Dune for me. But given the way certain things were handled and certain conversations were had, I was able to feel more comfortable. Like, for example, we had the one airline attendant who made like a really passive comment about terrorism.
Yeah.
But then she kind of ends up in the situation where she is profiling and then also going after Eddie, who is the exact opposite description and ethnicity of the people who she was just making like racist comments about. So she's kind of like that. We're given moments that I think King is kind of like conscious of the social dynamics of the time that he's writing this and like who's potentially reading it and what that means. It's not just like here's this as a meaning to hate this character as a villain, but more as a trope of this is the time that we're in.
Do you think for the time this was written that there are aspects of it that are like quite progressive in like addressing that some language is not okay and like addressing that anyone can be a terrorist? Do you feel like that there was like deliberate choices by King?
I personally think so.
I like to think so.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I mean, reflecting on Dune, where the reason, I'm not going to give any specific spoilers away, but there were certain tropes that were used as a means of this is why you should hate this person.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is more problematic than saying, yes, these characters are saying and doing horrible things, but this is a reflection of the time period that it's set in, and the characters are either going to discuss that later, or they're going to be challenged on that in some way, or they're going to get their head cut off. So, like, I don't know.
Either way.
Something bad's going to happen.
Yeah, because we had the same discussion like about the drawing of the three last year. Like if this would have been written after 9/11, this would have been like such a controversial thing. It would have been like exploding all over the internet. Like King just wrote this after 9/11, so it's like thinking back to it, like how he wrote it then. I feel like even more recently he's been more conscious of how he says stuff because I believe in his earlier books he has like no filter. Even though a lot of people are like you guys are saying like he has no filter at all, but now recently just he's not a filter, but I feel like he's more conscious of what he's saying because I feel like the main reason a lot of people don't like him anymore. For example, in Billy Summers, he like hits on Trump so much, and it's just like, bro, why are you bringing like real life problems into a book? Just leave them into the like. We read a book to escape what we're like, conveying in the real life, and you're bringing it into the book. It's kind of like, oh man, I'm not digging this.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I think it was an Elevation or in another one of his books where he would make comments that were reflective of his political views, which is like okay, but that has nothing to do with what we're reading. So was that necessary?
But he's kind of always done that. Like you can't separate yourself from your own like opinions and stuff. So I feel like that's always been in his books and probably always will be.
Yeah,
but I feel like in his older stuff it was a little bit more moderated because he would take hits at Democrats, but then he would also take hits at Republicans and so forth, and just overall opinions, like for example, that people have, but they don't say them. So he would moderate himself more, but more recently he's just been hitting like the same group over and over again. It's just kind of like, oh man.
I think maybe he was just less interested in politics as a young guy.
And he is now, yeah, true.
And it's more volatile.
Yeah,
so like, I feel like it makes sense that spills over into his work. Cause not just him, like everything is more volatile, especially in the US.
It's very
so
true,
like, it makes sense to me.
That's true. Yeah. I feel like now though he definitely knows who his audience is a bit better than he did.
I personally haven't read much of his newer stuff. Just because after Elevation, I got kind of scared. Like, oh no!
I'll tell you what though, Outsider was really good.
Oh no, I did read that. That was
Outsider was very cool. I really like Holly Gibney. Say again.
Casey, have you read The Outsider?
No. Oh. I haven't read much of his recent stuff.
Oh, okay.
No, apparently he's got next year he's got another Holly Gibney book coming out.
Oh.
Which is very cool. Yeah, I'd recommend The Outsider. It's really good.
Same.
I will check it out.
I feel like the series on HBO, is one of like the best series that I've seen just because it stays true to the book. A little bit towards the end it kind of changes, but it stays true to the book because a lot of like things that King does, a lot of directors are like, oh no, I don't want to do it the way King did it because of like his views or whatever. But I feel like The Outsider is like such a good story. And then at first I was kind of like, oh, I'm not gonna like this because of the first things that happened, and I was just like, oh man. But yeah, it's just King, so I was just like, I'll keep reading it. Yeah, it was worth it.
With the Outsider series, with the person that plays Holly in that, when I read the book, it's like Holly Gibney's white Irish. I was like, is she? Yeah, any other spoilery stuff you want to say?
As I try to save my library from my dog, I don't.
Oh no. Oh, there was one like pacing wise thing for the drawing of the three that I thought was just very interesting. So like I could see where it was going and I could see like what the next step was at every point. Like it was obvious what the next thing they had to do was, but I thought it was interesting how quickly they were happening. Like the fact that I was like, we meet Eddie and he has his brother and it's like, oh, well, his brother has to die for him to come through the other world because if not, he won't do it. And then it's like, it happens like as soon as you have that thought and it's like, oh, okay, we're going fast. And then like pulling Susanna over, I was like, oh, they're going to have problems convincing her to come over. And then it's like, no, just kidnap her. It's fine.
Just like rugby tackle her into another universe. Like,
yeah. And so like, I feel like, I don't want to say the word predictable because people take that as like a bad word, but I feel like it followed exactly the line I thought it was, which is not a bad thing. I liked that, but it did it so much quicker than I thought it was going to, which I appreciated because I appreciated like King can sometimes draw things out, and I feel like he did not do that in these books so far.
Yeah, I feel like it's partially to do with like him wanting to get all the characters at least set up so
Yeah.
that like because it's like book 1 prologue, book 2 characters, but like from the end of book 2 I think is where we have like the proper story. End of book 2 to like the end of book 7.
Okay.
And then when we find out what happens to Susanna, did you guys I felt like Susanna should have been the one to like, get her revenge, but what did you guys think of how King took it?
Well, it was interesting. It was like I knew that he wasn't going to let that guy live.
I think the whole point about Susanna not taking revenge is that she's become somebody who is above that and doesn't need it.
Oh, okay. But
and also
the
like
character that
it
he
was
came up
used
with,
as a
like,
way.
yeah, the character that he made up of just chopping bricks on people, it was just kind of like,
yeah, it's horrible.
People do that, like what? Every time I walk by a building, I'm gonna look up now. It's like, oh.
And his name was Jack, which was so confusing. Like for the first few paragraphs, I was like, my brain did not want to process that. And then his last name being Mort was like, okay, you're being a little like, I get it. I do think at the end that went a little fast. The way of shocking Odetta and Detta like into acknowledging each other and like uniting forces was very, very fast. And I'm hoping that we'll see more of the like power struggle and power dynamic between them later, because I feel like that can't be the end of that.
As somebody who hasn't read the rest of the series before, Casey, do you have any predictions for things that are going to happen? Or things you'd like to see happen?
I don't know. I haven't read any of the, like, I haven't read the synopsis for the next book, and I'm not going to for any of them. I'm just going to, like,
I think
jump
you
in blind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, synopsises can spoil them, but I have, like, I don't know, because, like, obviously they're going to go through some, like, traveling trouble, but they don't seem to know where they're going at all, which will be very interesting.
Roland's just like, it's this way, and they're all like...
This way. Like, okay. Like, it was so funny to me that one of the big plots of the second book is just that Roland needs antibiotics all the time.
Yeah. He's like so sick.
He's so sick. So I think, I don't know, like plot wise, I don't know. I have no idea. It's going to be interesting.
Well, you hit the nail because they're kind of like, well, what do we do now? You got your Kateb, but now where are you going to take them? Like, what do you do now?
Well, they start walking.
They start walking 200 miles and like, oh wait, we're supposed to go 500 miles that way. It's like,
oh my god, can you imagine? They go the wrong way.
I mean, listen, it wouldn't surprise me.
What does he know? How does he know where to go? Because I mean, the first book he talked about seeing like footprints or finding the old camp, whatever. But book 2, he's just like that way.
I think there's this thing in like, especially in Western culture, of like going west being some like amazing thing. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
You in like gold rush era US, people like going west. I'm heading out west, or like going west to the new world kind of thing. But in this one, they constantly talk about going west, and I feel like that's like super symbolic.
Wasn't he going north?
He was going north when he hit the coast, but he's on the Great Western Ocean. He's talking about.
Okay.
He can't go any. I think he mentions that he would want to go further west, but he can't because there's an ocean in the way.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens next because I don't have any idea.
But I feel
that's
like
that's the best way to be.
We're kind of like not having trouble like coming up with stuff to talk about. But I feel like since it's just like like we said, like the prologue and like the characters being like presented to us, there's not much to really like dissect. I feel like once we hit Wastelands and up in like those books, then we're gonna be like rambling our brains out.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot to talk about when we get to Wastelands.
Especially
Like, a lot
because you
to
guys
talk
did it
about.
so good about adding other books that tie in with the series. Like I feel like that's great because then we're gonna be like reading a book before reading another one, and we're gonna be like, remember that time when we read that book, and it's like, oh, so cool.
Yeah, I think spacing out the series as well is going to have us like itching to get back to it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm definitely itching to pick up the third one, but I'm trying to hold off.
Well, the good thing is that Wendy's Button Blocks and Magic Feather go read really fast. They don't
They're
go
so
really
tiny.
fast.
They're
they
like
read really
that big. Yeah, they're
They're
teeny
so
weeny.
tiny.
Yeah.
They're gonna take me like an hour each.
You could easily knock them both out in a day. 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
How many?
So
I've got a dog in one hand. And
So February, if you didn't read the January books and you're watching and you want to read the January books, February is a really good month to catch up because the February books are teeny weeny.
oh, there's a lot of white space in here. Interesting.
Yeah.
And there's pictures. Wow. Okay.
What?
But I feel like you guys are definitely gonna see like a difference just because King edited it, but Richard wrote it, and then you guys are
Okay.
definitely gonna be like, it's gonna be a different pace. Like you guys are gonna be like going from like the Gunslinger to the Drawing of the Three, and then reading the Button Blocks and the Feather. You guys are gonna be like, oh, it's not gonna be like refreshing, but it's gonna be like a little. Kind of like a little knick-knack for your brain, kind of like, oh, this is cool. Like, I get to relax for a little bit, and then we jump back into the Wastelands, and you're gonna be like, oh, I missed this.
Yeah, definitely.
I
You're
like
right.
that way of co-authoring. Like someone writes it and someone edits it. It's a very interesting way to like co-author anything.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I heard that when Good Omens was written by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. In an interview, Neil Gaiman said that 90% of writing that book, they were just screaming down the phone at each other.
And I love that they never remembered who wrote what joke or
Yeah.
what part of the book. Like it became so mashed up they didn't know who wrote what. And I was like, that's pretty great.
That's like true friendship. Best buddies.
Because I forget, and this is horrible on my part. Are we reading the Talisman too?
We're not reading Talisman this year, but if we carry on into next year, like reading more of King's stuff as a group, we'll definitely allocate a month to it.
I was just
Yeah,
thinking
there's
because I was
just
like
so many.
thinking of like Peter Straub and him writing a book, and I was like, because Peter Straub has like those like they're horror books like King, but like they think that he's a horror. I don't like how they say that King is a horror author because it kind of puts him in a box kind of thing. But because I feel like
Yeah.
King is just a great storyteller where he writes like all types of genres, and I feel like that's what he's trying to do this year with fairy tales. So it's like, no, I don't write just horror. Look at me, I'm writing a fantasy book now with animal
I feel
companion.
like
That's why he
I-
always in the Goodreads Choice Awards. I think it's happened a couple times where books that were not even horror books just because
Yeah.
his name were in the
Yeah.
horror categories. Like this is not.
Goodreads
Maybe
doesn't.
later.
Goodreads, the words don't count.
Don't trust
Right.
Goodreads. Don't trust it.
Don't trust it. They list everything wrong.
Yeah, I feel like only a quarter of Stephen King's books are horror books. I feel like he probably writes a lot of books that are like supernatural thrillers,
Yeah, there you go.
maybe,
Hmm.
but like he doesn't write a lot of horror. I think the only book of his that I was like, yeah, that really shit me up when I read it as a kid was Pet Cemetery.
Oh,
yeah,
Pet
that's the only
Sematary
one I've
is,
ever
like,
read that was
Actually
like scary.
terrifying.
That was
Yeah.
scary. Yeah. That's the kind of scared I want to be, and nothing is doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
mean-
if you have any scary book recommendations, drop them in the comments because we want as many as we can get.
Have you guys read Books of Blood?
Yes, I love Clive Barker so much.
No, I haven't.
The Books of Blood is good. I want to read that this year too. And then a horror book that's not really a horror book, but it's such a good read, and it'll take you like maybe 30 minutes or 45 minutes, depending on how fast you read. Is Tender is the Flesh.
Oh, is that the cannibalism one?
Yes, you don't like
Yeah,
that?
I think I have. I think I've read the synopsis, but I haven't read it. But it's on my list.
You should read it. It's like my favorite book of all time almost. But a lot of people, when I say that, they're like, "Did you like cannibalism?" And it's like it's not just about it. It's like it's so much deeper than
Not
just
about
eating people.
You should just say yes, Maza.
Yeah, just see what the reaction is to you
Just
saying
like
yes.
dead eye them, like yes.
Yeah.
I just slowly start walking away.
You want to
just
go
like,
out to dinner? What you follow it up with?
oh, that was great.
Speaking of King's scarier books, though, I feel like reading The Stand in this time period is going to be
Oh, yeah.
terrifying.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like
that's
it's got
gonna
a
be
whole new
struggle.
vibe now.
Yeah, exactly. Whole new
Absolutely.
vibe.
Absolutely. No. Mm-mm. Actually, one of my first hold that came in from the library in March of 2020, it was like World War Z is now available for you to pick up the library, and I was like, nope.
No, I love that book, but not right now.
The
We
reread.
were like cashing in on it. Like when we opened straight after the first quarantine, we had like a big display of that board game Contagion,
Oh my god, that's a good
like
board
right
game,
at the
but
front
oh my
of the shop.
Casey, you read the book?
I read World War Z.
Do you think I should watch the movie or read the book?
I've
Read
never
book.
watched the movie, and I never will.
The
They had
movie is
fast
crap.
zombies. That is not World War Z. The book is amazing, and the audiobook has a full cast narration,
Yes, it
and it's
The audiobook is
incredible.
really good.
Yeah.
It's
Because
so good.
I started watching the movie a long
One of my
time ago and I
favorites.
fell asleep.
It's bad.
Um,
It's a really bad film.
I will never watch it.
Oh,
I-
It's like one of the worst zombie films and one of the best zombie books ever written.
They
okay,
told
I'll
me-
definitely read the book.
Yeah, the book is so good, and I saw the trailer for the movie, and they had fast zombies in it, and I was like, I'm never watching this. They're not fast in the book. It
Yeah.
doesn't work. It makes no sense. But yeah, the
You
book's
should have just
amazing.
got the zombies from Walking Dead.
Yeah, Shamble.
Remind me to send you guys an audition for a Walking Dead Zombies video.
Oh,
Oh my god,
that's amazing.
I'm already excited for it.
Dead.
My wife and I were so into that thing that I would always like practice my zombie walk towards her, and she'd be like, "I feel like you'd get cast in it," and then she'd be like, "No, I was just kidding," and I was like, "Oh man,"
That's cool.
because I was like, "I'd be like, you really think so?" And she was like, "No, I was just kidding."
Speaking of which, does King have any zombie books?
Kind of. Cell is kind of a zombie book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
The
that's
plot behind that one is like you pick up the phone, you turn into a zombie, and I was like,
Wait, let me look.
yeah.
because there's even a zombie in the cover.
Press the turnaround.
Yeah.
If you have like the first edition, Max, it's like the blood, and there's a zombie walking towards the phone.
Oh, is there? Mine's just like a crappy orange one with a cell phone. It's rubbish.
Yeah, and the UK editions will be different.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he does.
We did get some drops of certain creatures. I don't know if it's spoilery to talk about them or not. I think it was mentioned in the Gunslinger. And when it happened, I was like, oh, I don't remember them being here so early.
Oh,
Which one? If it mentions them in the Gunslinger, it's not a spoiler.
The name of them is escaping my head, but
Is it the
they had faces. I think was it rats?
was it the slow mutants?
Yes, the soul mutants. Yeah,
They're called something else though.
yeah.
Oh, something else.
They're called
They-
like I'm sure they're called like Kadash or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It was brought up really early, and I was like, oh, I don't remember them being there this early. But
yeah,
They sound cool.
they are cool. They are.
They're like
cool.
glowy zombie boys.
yes, they are. good.
Just wait. Just wait.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Oh man.
Oh, sorry, Max. I have the book in my TBR shelf, which is in my room. I don't have a
Oh, yeah, the
TBR
cover?
car. I have a shelf just because it's so big.
Oh, I have
My
shelves
TBR
before.
pile is behind my laptop, so
I'm
nobody
like,
can see it.
like holding up his laptop.
I literally just organized my TBR shelf so I can find it easier when I'm making my TBR videos. And I was like, oh, I should do a book buying ban. This
Yeah,
is
me too. Me too.
No.
But I think we'll learn more about the slow mutants if I'm not mistaken. Is it low men in yellow coats?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like Loman in Yellow Coats is such an important story for this series.
Mm-hmm.
And people put it off to like they finish the series, and it's just like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, no way. But I feel like we've got everything in a really good place,
Mm-hmm.
like in
Yeah.
terms of the timeline for this one.
Yeah.
But anything that's not that people feel we should include, we can always just do it afterwards.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna-
Anything else we wanted to say?
Don't stop.
Are we
bringing up the
are we
Gunslinger.
cycling? Sorry, say again, Mazza.
I just said don't stop off the Gunslinger. Keep going.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
Are we cycling channels for the live shows?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So who's taking February? Call dibs now.
Not me, because I've got I'm hosting for every other book club in February. So
okay.
can I take March?
I'll do February.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So February live show is going to be for both of the Gwendy's first two books, and that'll be over on Books Before Death, the channel of which Casey is one half.
I'm only half of the channel.
But yeah, we'll organize a date for that, and we'll post it on the Discord, we'll post it on Twitter, and we'll make a thumbnail as well and get everybody hyped. But again, if you haven't read the books for January, February is the perfect time to read it because the book's teeny weeny, and we want as many people on board with this as we can. I think it's going to be really fun.
And then don't forget about the Discord, because I feel like the discussion in the Discord is I'm not really active on there, but I go in there and I check stuff out, and I feel like I don't say as much because I feel like I have such a spoilery mouth or typing hands that I'll spoil something for somebody. I don't want to do that.
There's the other half.
There's
Hey,
the other
baby.
half. She's here. She's always here. She's always with me.
Always watching.
Exactly. I make that joke all the time.
Are you the book half or the blood half?
I am the death half. It's Books Before
Awesome.
Death. We are both
sorry.
the death half, actually.
Cool. So yeah, the link for the Discord I have actually put in this video description down below, and I've put a link to the other co-hosts' lovely channels. Please go check them out. If you haven't subscribed to them already, please subscribe to them. Any closing remarks? Or is that all? Eyeballs.
Eyeballs. I'm also the death half. See, we understand each other.
I'm stuck on that he wrote this in 1978, and the amount of mafia references are still relevant. And I was like, yep, that's New York. Yep.
Organized
crazy.
crime is wild. It's fun like that.
It's so fun.
Awesome.
So next time
Well-
someone asks me if I have any Italian mafia recommendations, I'm going to be like, read the Gunslinger, but that's not the recommendation. Read the Drawing of the Three, for sure.
Yeah. Magical mafia plus cowboys and dimension wars.
Yes.
I read about a cowboy mafia.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be cool, huh?
definitely.
Yeah. I'm really excited to get further into the series and see what all of you know that I am the only one that doesn't know.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
So much weirdness.
How the
Just,
I
turn
can't
table.
wait for your mind to be blown.
just be
Oh, I'm
prepared
so
for weird.
I'm always
yeah.
prepared for weird.
It gets hella weird.
That's what I like to hear. You know I like to hear. It's gonna get hella weird.
Sweet.
So everybody that was commenting in the comments, thanks for coming and watching the video. If you're watching this video in the future, hello from the past. I will see you in February for the live show for Gwendy's Button Box and Gwendy's Magic Feather. Woo!
Woo! Bye, guys.
We were in the end.